As the Ukrainian counteroffensive looms on the horizon, the Russian state media is evidently displaying signs of alarm and concern. It has become increasingly evident in recent broadcasts that the Kremlin-controlled media is feeling the pressure of Ukraine's strategic and military advancements, with support from the international community. With tensions continuing to rise, state TV hosts and guests have been observed discussing plans for world domination in the aftermath of a nuclear war with the West, as well as stressing the need for Russia to behave more aggressively. Russian state TV host Vladimir Solovyov, who has been known for calling for further escalation of the Ukraine war and aggression against the West, has been at the forefront of this apparent alarm. During recent broadcasts, Solovyov and his guests have engaged in debates and conversations that highlight their growing concern over the impending Ukrainian counteroffensive. They have even gone so far as to suggest that Ukraine should be liquidated as a nation, in a manner reminiscent of Hitler's treatment of the Nazi nation, and have called for training new European leaders who favor Russia. The rhetoric and language used during these broadcasts suggest that Russian propagandists are deeply worried about the potential consequences of a successful Ukrainian counterattack. Furthermore, the Russian state media has been closely monitoring the ongoing military developments in Ukraine. A recent segment, which focused on the pending counteroffensive, emphasized the need for Russian troops to continue preparing for Kiev's attacks. Anton Gerashchenko, an advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs, pointed out that Russia's concern over the Ukrainian counteroffensive has become a regular theme on Russian propaganda shows. This indicates a growing uneasiness within the Russian state media as the possibility of a strong Ukrainian response becomes increasingly likely. The Russian military has struggled to make significant headway in its invasion of Ukraine, and with the prospect of an impending counteroffensive by Kyiv, Russian state TV hosts and guests have been expressing their concern about the situation. They have discussed the various ways in which the enemy is preparing for the counteroffensive, such as saturating the line of contact with reconnaissance assets and electronic warfare. These discussions serve as a stark reminder that the Russian propagandists are not only alarmed, but also wary of the potential dangers that a successful counteroffensive by Ukraine could pose to Russian soldiers and civilians alike. In an attempt to divert attention and shift the blame, Kremlin propagandist Vladimir Solovyov has launched attacks on the United States, questioning its legitimacy and historical territorial gains. By doing so, he seeks to undermine US support for Ukraine and discredit the nation's sovereignty. While this strategy may be an attempt to deflect from Russia's own actions, it underscores the state of alarm that exists within the Russian propaganda machine. The recent broadcasts on Russian state TV have revealed an alarming and terrifying vision of the Kremlin's plans for world domination following a hypothetical nuclear war. These plans seem to be rooted in a desperate need for Russia to assert its dominance and gain control over the world's resources and territories. While the idea of a nuclear war is, in itself, a horrifying prospect, it is chilling to think that the Russian leadership is contemplating strategies for the aftermath of such a catastrophe. During recent broadcasts, Russian state TV host Vladimir Solovyov and his guests have engaged in discussions about how Russia could potentially rule the world after a nuclear conflict. These conversations have touched upon various aspects, including identifying the regions that would remain habitable following a nuclear war, as well as methods for asserting control over these areas. The talks have also delved into plans for how the Russian leadership would maintain control over its own population, while simultaneously taking advantage of the chaos and destruction to expand its global influence. The discussions have outlined a strategy that relies heavily on the destruction and weakening of other world powers, particularly the United States. The broadcasts indicate that Russia is closely monitoring the United States' military, economic, and political vulnerabilities, which could be exploited in the aftermath of a nuclear conflict. Furthermore, the Russian state media has taken to openly questioning the legitimacy of historical territorial gains by the United States, attempting to undermine American authority and sow doubts about the nation's sovereignty. In another recent broadcast, the Russian state TV host Vladimir Solovyov presented a map that depicted the United States divided into several different countries. The map, which was purportedly designed to illustrate Russia's vision of a post-nuclear war world, has generated significant alarm and concern among viewers and analysts. The intention behind the presentation of this map seems to be twofold: to send a chilling message to the United States and the international community, and to demonstrate Russia's confidence in its ability to reshape the world order. The map shows the United States broken up into several smaller nations, each with their own territories and governments. Notably, the map indicates that the states of California, Oregon, and Washington would form a separate country under Chinese influence, while Texas would become an independent republic. The remaining territories are divided between various factions, including a European-controlled eastern seaboard and a Russian-influenced Midwest. This vision of a divided and weakened United States is a stark departure from the current geopolitical landscape and serves to underscore the depth of Russia's ambitions for world domination. The presentation of this map on Russian state TV suggests that the Kremlin is not only contemplating a post-nuclear world, but is actively strategizing and preparing for such an eventuality. By presenting a scenario in which the United States is fractured and weakened, the Russian propagandists seek to instill fear and doubt in their adversaries, while also stoking nationalist sentiment among their own population. It is important to consider the implications of such a provocative broadcast and to remain vigilant in the face of ongoing efforts to destabilize and manipulate the international order. The Russian military has struggled to make significant headway in its invasion of Ukraine, and with the prospect of an impending counteroffensive by Kyiv, Russian state TV hosts and guests have been expressing their concern about the situation. They have discussed the various ways in which the enemy is preparing for the counteroffensive, such as saturating the line of contact with reconnaissance assets and electronic warfare. These discussions serve as a stark reminder that the Russian propagandists are not only alarmed, but also wary of the potential dangers that a successful counteroffensive by Ukraine could pose to Russian soldiers and civilians alike. In an attempt to divert attention and shift the blame, Kremlin propagandist Vladimir Solovyov has launched attacks on the United States, questioning its legitimacy and historical territorial gains. By doing so, he seeks to undermine US support for Ukraine and discredit the nation's sovereignty. While this strategy may be an attempt to deflect from Russia's own actions, it underscores the state of alarm that exists within the Russian propaganda machine.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Warzone. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you next time.